Welcome to the Galen Trombley Show. You can find me on Facebook at Galen Trombley, on Instagram at Galen Trombley, and on YouTube at Galen Trombley. Spelling GaelanTrombley. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Galen Trombley Show. Hello. All right, now we're good. All right, hello everybody. Welcome to episode 171 of the Galen Trombley Show. I took the last 2 weeks off, which is good. I had a traveling thing, and then I kind of had a nice little work getaway, I guess, kind of staycation, but allowed me, and I kind of just didn't want to do a lot of stuff externally, so that included the podcast, so I figured kind of a nice little break, but we are back for episode 171, and my guest today is Kelsey Reif, and she's Under One Reef Nutrition. And again, I wanted to say that because I figured I was going to say roof, which I'm assuming was Under One Roof. And I'm, again, play on words, which I love. But Kelsey, for people who do not know you, one, welcome to the show. And
Thank
then
you.
two, who you are, kind of, where you're from, how'd you get to 2021 Kelsey Reif?
So I've grown up in the area. I was from the Morris Forks area, so that kind of drew me back to Rouses Point. I went to high school in Champlain, so I know the area well. Most of my friends are from there. And then I was a stay-at-home mom, and I got really bored. So I found Herbalife, or I should say Herbalife Nutrition found me. I was looking to lose weight, and I was looking to find something that I could do outside of my home, but also with my little guy. And this just seemed to be the perfect fit. Everyone was going crazy about the colorful teas that everyone was seeing on social media. And I thought, well, it's a pandemic, and why not start a business?
So, you grew up, you said, so we'll go back. You grew up in Morris, you went to Northeastern, graduated. What did you do after graduation? After
graduation, I went to college. I started at Albany College of Pharmacy for 2 years, and then I was coming home every weekend, so I transferred to SUNY Plattsburgh and finished my bachelor's degree there. And I have a background in psychology and early childhood development. And I took a couple nutrition classes, so that kind of sparked my love for nutrition and learning about it and fueling your body and what's good and what's not good. But
did you? So when you got out of college, what was your what did you do right after college?
Right after college, I was working with children with disabilities through ARC. So I was with them for 4 years. The self-direction was what my title was called. So I worked with an individual family, went to their house, helped the children with their needs and what their IEP and what their program consisted of. So
all right, so Herbalife, I would say Herbalife because it has an H at the beginning. So, and that is, that's a kind of like a franchise model that they do, and you're a rep for the company,
right? And
now, how does that work? Is it kind of like you are under the banner of Herbalife, but you kind of run your own little business, and it's like, what's the relationship with that parent company?
So a lot of people will call it multi-level marketing, but it basically, Herbalife Nutrition is the main company, and when you sign up, you're signing up as an Herbalife distributor or ambassador, whatever play on words you want to call it. And basically, once you sign up, you're your own boss. You decide what you want to do with the company. The company gives you all kinds of resources, all kinds of training, all kinds of information, and then, of course, the products that we use in our drinks and what we sell out of my nutrition club.
So are you a 1099 or W-2?
I am basically a 1099, yes.
Okay, so you run it as kind of an independent contractor underneath the umbrella of Herbalife.
Right.
Okay, and when you have you are in Rouses Point. That's your headquarters. So you have a separate office. Is it is it private residence? Is it kind of a mixture?
So when I first started, it was out of my residence. That was what we call a residential nutrition club. So I did everything from home, selling the products online through social media, or making the teas and shakes where people can come pick them up from me. And because it was a pandemic, I did curbside. So don't want to get some germs in and get sick. So I was trying to think of the best way to do this, and curbside seemed to be the up and coming thing with restaurants. So I said, why not give it a try?
And where are you still in the same location now?
No, in June I moved to a commercial space right on Lake Street, and I've been there before that. I've been with Herbalife for a year this month. So
okay, one year anniversary.
Yes.
So where on Lake Street are you? How far down?
So if you know where Dollar General is, I'm right across from the parking lot of Dollar General.
Okay, so the corner of Pratt and Lake Street.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
So now, is it just you? Are you like a solo entrepreneur? Do you have a staff? Do you have any?
Right now, it's just me. I've had some staff come and go, but the way I've been running my club is you're your own boss. You provide your product and you make your sales, and then what you make for the day is what you keep.
Now, do you get to set the prices, or are the prices set by the parent company?
We get to set our own prices. So some people will have like suggested prices, or the company has suggested prices, but basically you just check to see if you're profitable. And the app that Herbalife provides for you is a great resource and allows you to do all of that, making your menu, setting your prices.
So then regarding like a profit margin and overhead and everything, that's purely on you. So you're kind of diving into the finance. You're diving into all this fun, the fun of small business, I should say.
Yes.
So does Herbalife, is it because I know most of it, and I'll dive back into the business aspect because I think that's what you and I will have a lot of similarities on and get to kind of jam on. So, but talk about the product itself. Talk about what you offer. What different lines you might offer.
Yep. So the biggest thing people think when they think of Herbalife Nutrition are the weight loss shakes. Those are our biggest sellers. It is proven through a lot of testing and with the company and the doctors that the company has hired to create the products. It is proven that with 2 shakes a day, you can expect to lose at least 1 pound a week while doing that. So a lot of people will jump on the shake program and try to use that for their weight loss program or their weight loss journey. We have multiple lines of products, and a lot of people don't know this, but we have a skin line. We have all kinds of different tablets that are supplements that can help you with anything from joints to your vision to, again, weight loss. Some of my clients use my products for weight gain, so it can go both ways. And then we also have a 24 Fit line that is more for the athletic person. So with that line, you can have everything from pre-workout, during your workout, and then post-workout when it comes to like snacks and drinks and how to fuel your body so you're giving it the best nutrition that it needs.
And do you carry most of this product in-house every day?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so your business is again, it's not like ordering for people. It's like they can come in, buy something off the shelf.
Correct.
Okay, because you always look at some places and they, sometimes they leave the overhead down where it's like, give me an order, then I'll order, and I don't really physically keep the product. Right. So there's money that you have invested in this, and then from there, okay, so makes sense. So now in regards, and this is what I've always wanted to ask for, shakes and stuff, because in like weight loss and everything else, because typically, at least from my understanding and stuff of nutrition, I mean, there's different ways that you can lose weight, but it's like a lot of it has to do, obviously the big one, calories in, calories out, and then I've take a step further, and then you can go into the certain ratios of food that you have, and then you go a step further, and you start about talking about meal timing and quality of food, and you start and quality of food meaning. If you have a carb, is it better to have, maybe a starchy or a low glycemic carb versus a sugar? And that's kind of where you start getting into that knowledge. How does weight, like like the weight loss shake, even though it's a shake,
Yeah.
obviously it's something someone's consuming, and I kind of want to hear your opinion on this. Like my initial thought is if someone's just drinking a shake and that's going to allow them to lose weight, there's more to it than just purely your intake. But do you find that because the shake is a catalyst maybe for the weight loss, or a catalyst for a healthier life, or a catalyst to help with portion control, or help with substitutions, maybe being better than a soda, or better than a milkshake, or better than something else, how does this play into a normal diet, or someone that's looking, because you said most of yours is the weight loss, that's kind of your big one, so how does most of this fit in with the weight loss line?
So all of our shakes are full of protein, and according to the nutritionist that has done the training and has helped kind of shape Herbalife, they have recommended that a high protein diet with low calorie, low carb, low sugar is instrumental with helping with weight loss. It's also, a lot of people don't realize that if you're not fueling your body the right way with your proper nutrition, and you're just exercising all the time but still eating junk food, you're kind of counteracting what you're trying to do. We recommend like 80% nutrition, 20% exercise when it comes to like your weight loss program. And what I mean by that is making sure you're getting in the proper amount of calories that you need, the proper amount of protein that you need. And we figure this out by having you start with a wellness profile that Herbalife has generated and set up for us. It asks you, I believe, like 5 to 10 questions about your lifestyle, how active you are, what your goal weight is, how many times a day you eat, that kind of stuff. And then it generates a recommendation of how many calories you should be intaking each day. And then when we have that, that's when we kind of break it down by meal, seeing if the protein shakes, you need to have 1 or 2, or if you're what kind of snacks you're going to eat as well, making sure they're all high in protein. I actually wasn't doing what I was supposed to when it came to calories and protein with my weight loss journey. And I realized that by downloading a calorie intake app, and I was significantly lower on my calories and protein than what I needed. So when I was at a standstill wondering why I wasn't losing weight, I finally started to do that, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm 30 grams of protein short, or I was almost 500 calories low. So once I started tracking my food, it was a lot easier, and that's what I tell my clients to do as well. And that kind of helped me. And then when it comes to the shakes, our shakes have 24 grams of protein in them, plus 21 vitamins and minerals that your body needs, and they're plant-based, so it's easier for digestion.
This is what you kind of just started to answer my next question. So what is the protein, carbs, fats typically in a shake?
So a shake will have, like I just said, 24 grams of protein.
And this is, I'm guessing, probably 12 to 16 ounces?
20-ounce shake.
Oh, it is 20, okay.
Yep, 20-ounce shake. It's the only size that I do unless it's a kid's shake. And so the 24 grams of protein, 21 vitamins and minerals, about 6 grams of fat, and about 6 grams of sugar is in them. And then about 200 calories. So it's a little higher on the calorie side, but...
So I'm guessing, just kind of doing quick math here, so 6, so you're probably somewhere around 50 to 60 grams in fat, or calories in fat, and then, so you're what, maybe 40 grams of carbs? Roughly? Okay. So,
roughly.
Okay, so if, and I would deem, and again, I'm not a nutritionist, I did, I've been in the space, I've read a whole lot on it over the last decade. I would say those are a pretty good amount of ratios when it comes to carbs, proteins, and fats.
Right.
I think the one thing I like that you said, and I think that's where it comes, I think some people get the idea that if you drink, you drink some type of shake, that it's automatically going to lose weight. Well, it depends what's in it, because a lot of them, I find you see these people post, nutrition shakes, and they're loaded with like peanut butters and like sugar-free syrups and yogurts, and all of a sudden you're like, well, you just brought in 50 grams of sugar,
right?
But you think because there's, and again, nothing against fruit. Fruit is fantastic, but fruit is also 99.9% sugar. It's all fructose.
Even though it's natural sugar, it's still sugar.
Yeah, it's still sugar. And I mean, you can talk like natural, like maple syrup's natural, but it's still sugar, and it's a very concentrated sugar. So if you So I think that always gets lost on people when you think like you do these diet programs and if you magically take it, you lose weight. But it's part of a science of how to lose weight. And I think if it fits into, again, what you just said, if someone has I find people, unless you're actively really in the space of fitness and nutrition, hitting enough protein is very tough for most people. Mm-hmm. And I think when you're like, hey, listen, you can have one or two of these shakes and you're going to get 80 grams of protein, knowing that depending on, what would be the breakdown of your customers? Male, female, young, old, kids, something?
I have a wide range of everyone, honestly. Okay. So,
because I was kind of under the assumption that it's probably more on the female side, or am I wrong on that? Or no?
Sometimes when it comes to just like general weight loss, I get a lot of more interest from women. Mm-hmm. When I start talking about my 24 Fit line, I do get a lot more male interest because those are like the bodybuilders mm-hmm. or the people going to the gym all the time. But it's pretty equal with both.
Because I find that like in my eyes, like the two demographics you probably hit is the people that are really into fitness. Yep. And then probably like you kind of, I think what you said, you're the stay-at-home mom that's got a busy life that deals with a lot of stuff, and you're trying to get in your fitness and nutrition amongst a million other things going on in your life each day, and trying to prioritize that. So I think kind of what you just talked about makes a lot of sense, and I think if somebody was able to use it as a substitution and then a catalyst for better calorie intake. Now, when did you start your weight loss journey, and how much, I guess, weight have you lost?
I have lost 25 pounds within the last year, and weight loss always has its up and downs. So I have had times where I've gained some of the weight back just because I wasn't paying close enough attention to my my diet. It's basically like holidays, birthday parties. I'm like, I'm with everyone else, I might as well just eat what they're eating. But when I'm very, very strict with it, like I'll bring my shakes to replace 2 meals of the day, depending what time of day it is, where I'm going. And I typically try to leave like my actual meal as dinner time so I can sit with my husband and my son and have dinner as a family. But while I'm working at the nutrition club, I'll have a shake for breakfast, a shake for lunch, and then a snack that's higher in protein between those meals. So like a protein bar, or I make a lot of protein baked goods at my nutrition club, so I'll eat something like that. But yes, over the last year, it's been a total of 25 pounds and still working at it to get to my ideal weight.
So what roughly, like, what program do you use to count your calories and count your intake?
It is called Calorie Counter. It's an app that I found just right on the App Store. Okay. You can pay for it, or they have free ones. Basically, whatever one you're comfortable with using.
I've always used MyFitnessPal.
Yep.
So I did the same. And do you find, is that beneficial to you?
It is, because most of the time as I'm running around like crazy with my son or with the business, I'm forgetting to eat. I'm forgetting to grab a snack, or at the end of the day, I'm like, did I eat lunch today? But as I'm making my meal, I'll quickly put it in the app, and I'm like, okay, I'm close to my goal of what I need. And if I don't quite get it there, I'll just eat another high protein snack or something along those lines.
Do you count just your calories? Do you count your macros?
I count my calories and my protein intake.
Okay, so do you look at carbs or fat at all?
Sometimes, but mostly what I'm eating is Herbalife and along my my meal plan, so I don't look too closely into it.
What's your protein goal each day?
So when I took the wellness profile, Herbalife suggested that I hit 90 grams of protein a day and 1,400 calories a day. So that's what I try to stick to, and like I said before, I wasn't hitting that, so it kind of opened my eyes.
Or hitting the protein?
Both. I wasn't hitting either, so I started adding snacks, because before I wouldn't eat snacks. I would just eat my 3 meals.
Do you try to limit protein or limit do you try to limit fat or limit carbs?
I try to do lower carbs, lower fat, just because that's me.
What I guess ballpark, if you were to guess, how many grams of carbs do you think you might take in, or how many grams of fat do you think you might take in?
give or take, maybe like 20 to 30 grams of fat a day. Usually less than that, depending on what snacks I'm choosing and what we have for dinner. So yeah, that would be about right.
And then you said 1,400. So if you're about that, let's ballpark that 180. You said protein is 90.
Yes.
So again, I'm doing for people that I guess listening, and so for fat, each gram of fat is 9 grams of calories. It's 9 calories per gram of fat.
Yep.
Okay, and then protein and carbs are 4. So if you add it up, I'm just trying to think like the calorie kind of like what your carbs might be. Do you find, as you said it before, do you find that any of those numbers might be too low on that side, the protein and the fats?
I don't really track that side, so I don't believe so, but
do you find
depends on the person.
No, that's fine. Do you think you have a lot of energy throughout the day?
I do.
Okay.
Now that I add the teas with my shakes, I have a lot of energy. I've never been a coffee drinker, so
I can't say the same.
Yeah, we do have protein coffee, but before I was introduced to the teas, I only drank vanilla Coke, and I would go through a 12-pack in 2 days.
But that's a substitution,
right?
Yeah.
Yep. So that was my caffeine intake. That was how I tried to get my energy. Now I'm drinking a tea for breakfast, with my shake for breakfast, and then I'll have a tea at lunch. And those 2 teas give me enough energy to keep going through my day.
What's your workout or exercise? Like what's that look like for you?
I do a lot of HIIT workouts, or I'll do yoga depending on the day. I try to do a HIIT workout 3 times a week, so typically Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday, Thursday I'll either do like a dance workout or a yoga workout depending on what I feel like doing. Yes. Yeah. Just so I'm not jumping around like crazy all the time and hurting myself. But I actually subscribe to the Apple Fitness app, and I use that for my workouts. And it's just been a lot easier than coming up with stuff on my own because I get bored, or some of the moves will come up and I'll be like, oh, I don't know how to do that. But the Apple Fitness app has someone showing you what to do and follow along with it.
Yeah. And you said before, I mean, you said like 80% fitness or 20% fitness or exercising, 80% nutrition. I mean, that's... I guess if you're losing weight, it's all nutrition. I mean, like you said, it's you definitely got to move. You definitely have to exercise. Yes. But one of the things I always go back to is even if you exercise every day for an hour, 7 days a week, you exercise in the week 7 hours. Well, how many hours of the week are there? I mean, obviously there's 23 hours a day that you're sleeping, you're exercising, you're not exercising, you're eating, you're hydrating. So it's all this stuff you're recovering to then go back and kind of like beat your body back up a little bit to grow it, and then you have to feed it. So when I get on kicks where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna really, really go full bore on nutrition. To be honest, have been probably off of that for about 2 years, like kind of like all over the place. But now it's like I always go through these phases. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go like 3-4 months, just full bore, 100% commitment. So I track protein, carbs, and fats. But typically, like you had said, and I have a goal each day, and I try to stay within, certain grams of each. But the whole idea is I'm an undereater, and I think a lot of people, if you actually look at that, it doesn't mean like, oh, you undereat, you're losing weight. A lot of times if you undereat, you're not getting enough calories in, like you said, for either energy and or whatever your goals are. If you're trying to gain weight, you have to eat more than you're burning. But if you're just trying to lose body fat and kind of lean out, if you don't eat enough calories, and I think that's the trippy thing for people is that they think less is better, and that's not always the case. And as I typically start off the baseline, and I do that for maybe 2 months religiously, like Monday through Sunday, like not weekends. Because there's always that like 80-20 rule when you're eating too. Like, you want to eat really solid most days, most meals, and I'd say typically like an evening on the weekend or something is when people have a cheat meal or have a meal they're not as, it's not like a good diet meal, you might say, kind of a pizza maybe or something like that. But 1, for sanity reasons, 2, for social reasons, because you don't want to be the loser person at the party that's like, I'm not going to eat that, and like pull it like a Tupperware and eat like broccoli and rice. Like,
Right.
I mean, you can if you're doing like a bodybuilding show, but I would say for 99% of people doing weight loss, it's just, I just want to be healthier. So, I think it's kind of that idea is that you pick and choose your battles, and a lot of the times you don't have control. Like if you go to a family dinner, you don't have control of what they have, but you
Right.
do have control of what you eat there. You don't have to eat, the high sugar crap or dessert. You can pick and choose and have a higher protein meat, or, hey, we got a ham with a bunch of sides. We'll have ham and have some of the better vegetable sides
Right.
instead of throwing on the stuffing or something. Even,
All
Thanksgiving's
about,
coming up, eat the
yep,
stuffing.
all about self-control.
Yeah, and I think as I've found out, if you have a baseline, but as you start to do whatever your goal is, that has to change. Like your baseline this month might be different next month or 3 months or 2 months down the road, and then it's adapting. And I typically would add in, at least for mine, I would end up adding in carbs because I would need the nutrition because my body fat would go down, but with the body fat going down, I would lose energy.
Right.
Because your fat is an energy, like your body, that's why when you're starving, your body holds on to fat. So
Yep.
when we go, because it needs energy. So what you think about is when you eat too little, that ends up being the issue. So when I'm like under eating, I typically hold on to fat more than if I don't want to say overeating, but I'm eating adequate for my body.
Right.
When I eat correctly for my body's like dancing because it's like, listen, we can shred the fat. We're feeling good. We're getting the nutrients in our body. And I think, that's always a misconception for people is they think like, I got to have 1,000 calories. I'm like, no, you probably need, 2,100 calories or something crazy. Like, I mean, like double what you're eating. So again, having done it a year, like what was your I guess, let's call it health or fitness prior to you deciding that you wanted to do something like this? What was the first couple, let's say the first 3 months, because I'm sure there was a learning curve, and then where are you now compared to when you were, or where you were?
So when I started, I wasn't working out at all. I was not eating 3 meals a day.
Do you mind if I ask how old you are?
I'm 28.
Okay, sorry, keep going.
I wasn't eating 3 meals a day. I would eat when I remembered. So being a new mom, it was typically after Colin went to sleep. So late at night, which really isn't the best time for you to be eating all 3 meals. So basically that's what I was doing. I wasn't exercising. I was a couch potato and eating every junk food that was quick and I could grab and I didn't have to cook. So basically nothing with protein, lots and lots of carbs, lots of sugar, and I was just not happy with how things were going. My energy was completely gone. I wasn't sleeping. Going up and down the stairs or vacuuming made me super out of breath. So it just wasn't very good nutrition at all. And then when I started...
was there a moment that was like a wake-up call for you?
There was. I looked in the mirror and I was like, what happened? I was at my biggest weight. I had gone to the doctors previously because I didn't have a scale at home and I didn't regularly weigh myself. And I was almost back to my highest weight when I was pregnant. And I was like, this needs to change. There's no reason for this to be happening. There's no reason for me to just be eating Reese's peanut butter cups and vanilla Coke all the time to keep me going. So that was my biggest wake up. And then I was seeing everyone posting about Herbalife and these body transformation challenges that some of the coaches will offer with their teams. So I joined one, and my before and after picture from that 4-week body transformation challenge was what got me hooked. I didn't look super bloated anymore. Yeah, I wasn't a twig, but you could see a difference.
There's improvement, though.
Yes, lots of improvement. My energy was back. I wanted to play with Colin on the floor. I didn't want to sit on the couch and just watch him. I wanted to go outside with him. I wanted to go on walks with him. He was almost 1 at the time, and it was just so much
Get
fun.
ready to start moving.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was moving, and I couldn't keep up with him.
Yeah.
So I knew I needed to do something because I didn't want to not be able to keep up with my 1-year-old.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what made my brain snap and was like, yes, I need to get back into eating better. I need to do something for me. Everything I was doing was for my son, and I was kind of putting myself on the back burner, and a lot of new moms do that.
Yeah.
And I try to tell my clients, like, it's okay to be selfish sometimes and do stuff for you. You need to take care of yourself, or you can't take care of your family. And that was a big eye-opener for me.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. I think, like I said, we're right in the parenting. We have a few kids, and,
Yep.
and same thing. My wife's now getting back into working out, and she's trying to she's really watching what she's tracking what she eats, and
Yep.
she's being very proactive, and and there's a difference. She's been doing it for a month, and same thing. She's starting you start to lose that bloatedness, start to
Yep.
lose, and I know for one of her things is she grew up very athletic, worked out, and then you go basically 4 years nonstop pregnancy, like
Yep.
because we had a lot of kids, and then it's true. It's like you get to the point where, and I think once you have kids, and this as a mother, it's like your entire world changes, your entire like what you value changes, where you put your focus changes. You then start putting your son or daughter, whoever, ahead of you, because that's I think a natural parenting instinct, or at least the parenting instinct of, I would think, a responsible parent.
Right.
And then I think that happens. You slowly kind of fall back a little bit, and you don't really even see it happening because it's happening slowly each day.
Right.
But obviously, you go a year doing that. You said your son's 2, so
He's
you're
2,
he's
yep.
about a year into it. So it's like there's 365 days. Not to mention any female that's had a baby, you're not starting from you're starting from I would say a vulnerable place, because you've gained weight, you've gone through this the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life is childbirth.
Yes.
And you end up going from that, and then all of a sudden your body takes weeks and weeks to just get back to, not even say back to normal, but to a point where you could even work out, and then your body's still not back to normal.
Right.
It takes time for that to happen and re-regulate hormonally and all that stuff. So that alone, because that affects nutrition, that affects your body, that affects the way you can digest and your bloatedness and all this. Your body's a machine, and it does all this stuff. But then it's like all these other factors your body's trying to grow and trying to understand, and it's not easy. And then I've seen it personally. My wife's very driven, likes to work out, likes to eat, she loves peanut butter cups, but she likes to, she really wants to do that. But seeing it is like she's got to be like, hey, I'm going out and doing it. I'm like, great, go out. Because it's you need that win, and then once you have that, then it's like you can give the best version of yourself to your child,
right?
And that allows them to grow. So, okay, so go into that was your that was your turning point.
Yep.
Okay, and then let's go into from there to what'd you do next?
So, obviously, working out wasn't a thing that I did. And I didn't jump right into an hour workout 7 days a week, or I would have killed my muscles and myself. So I find, and I tell my clients this, just try to change 1 to 2 habits a week and then build from there. So I decided I was going to work out twice a week. The challenge that I had joined offered virtual workouts on Zoom, so I hopped on those. And then once I started realizing the different exercises and moving my body, I realized how great I felt afterwards. And to this day, I still never want to work out, but I force myself because I just feel so much better afterwards. And it doesn't have to be an hour workout. 10 minutes a day, just starting, that's fantastic. Like go for a brisk walk or a jog or do some jumping jacks. Just something that you're able to do, but don't push yourself to the point of hurting yourself. Do it gradually. And that's what I did. So the Zoom workouts were 20 to 30 minutes. So I hopped on those too. And then I was also walking daily because it was summer when I started my weight loss journey, and I didn't sign up to be an Herbalife distributor until 3 months after I started my weight loss journey. So I would take my son for walks. We'd walk around town. We'd walk with other moms that had kids the same age, which was awesome because then Colin had new friends. And just having someone to be an accountability buddy is just the perfect thing. And I don't think I would be anywhere closer to my goal without an accountability buddy, someone that's wanting to do the same thing, wanting to lose weight with me, wanting to work out, have similar goals. And it's just been very, very helpful. We also have an online Facebook group where everyone can plug in and kind of get different ideas of what they want for meal plans, exercises, all that kind of stuff to kind of motivate you, motivational quotes. It's just a safe space where you can feel seen, but you don't feel like you're not being a part of it, because everyone in that group is just very inclusive, very they congratulate you on all your wins. They pick you up. They don't put you down, whether you're discouraged with yourself. It's a safe space for people to just come and get motivated.
Well,
so
what's your motivation?
My motivation right now is my son. He's always been my why, and Herbalife is super big on finding your why and go with it. And Colin has always been my why. I want him to see me working hard for my goals so he will have the same determination as he grows up. Oh, mom's living a healthy lifestyle. I can do that too, because our kids do what they see, and they're always watching. Like, he'll jump in and exercise with me as a 2-year-old. He tries to lift my weights. He can't always, but I bought him his little mini 1-pound weights, and he uses those and does jumping jacks and squats with me, and we just make it fun, and that's all you can do.
Monkey see, monkey do.
Exactly.
And what was, when you first started, you talked about habits. What was a couple of the small habits that you changed when you first started?
I cut out soda.
Okay.
So trying to cut out soda was one of my habits. Another habit was moving for 10 minutes a day, whether it was actually doing an exercise or a walk. So I try to incorporate walking. I mean, Rouses Point is so small, and we have all kinds of great places to walk. So it's awesome. And then eating. I started with eating 2 meals a day because, like I said, I was only eating once a day at night. So I had to kind of get used to eating as soon as I woke up again. And that was the main thing for me that I noticed was a big trigger on my weight loss, was getting protein in within the first hour or 2 of waking up was a big help with an energy boost. Before, I would just wake up, grab a soda because I didn't like coffee, and kind of just power through my day the best I could. And by 11 o'clock, I was dragging again. So
how long before those, because I always say, habits, you change, those were things you changed, but how long did they take to become habits?
I would say about 10 to 21 days. A lot of people say 21 days forms a habit. I think it depends on what kind of habit you're forming. If it's something easy like switching out soda, I feel like it's going to take a little bit, especially if you're used to that kind of caffeine. You don't want caffeine withdrawals either, but the teas really helped with that. So
you think it takes longer than 21 days?
I think it depends on what habit you're trying to change. Yeah. It took me, like, incorporating shakes daily, that didn't take me very long, maybe a week. Incorporating 2 shakes a day, that took me closer to 21 days to do.
Like, I look at habits, like, there's things that you can change that I think would be routines.
Right.
Like let's say waking up at a certain time. So you want to wake up every day at, like, 6 o'clock.
Yep.
Okay, I want to wake up at 6 o'clock, I want to do something in the morning before I go to work. I think the activity of doing that, the routine of doing that is you wake up at 6. You wake up at 6, wake up at 6. And I think it ends up being a routine. And I think at some point, subconsciously, then you wake up at 6 and you don't even think about it. It's like, I just wake up. And I'm not saying, like, internally wake up at 6. You still might set your alarm or whatever. Yep. But you don't, you don't think about waking up at 6. Yep. I think for a few weeks, it's like, I got to wake up at 6. I got to wake up at 6. And then it just becomes a habit where you're just like 6 o'clock. You don't even think about it. You're just like, all of a sudden you just wake up at 6 and go do whatever you do, your routine that morning. But that then becomes subconsciously your habit. And I think that balance is, or that hard thing to do is, it starts off as a routine, but you actively have to pursue that routine. And this is like anything. I think, for whether it be, let's say waking up at a certain time, maybe people have talked about like reading every day, or someone talks about maybe going, you said going for a walk or exercising, and a lot of it is if you're consciously thinking of it, I still think it is a routine until you subconsciously do it, and then that's a habit. 'Cause then
Right.
like I have a habit. I drink coffee every morning. So I don't even think about it. It's just like I go do it. It's like my body. If I wasn't thinking, my body would still go make coffee.
Yeah.
You know, and that's. But you know, for me to say like I got to get up each morning and maybe read a book first thing in the morning, I actively would have to think about doing that. Be like, okay, get up, what book? I'm going to sit here. What time is that I'm going to read? And not just get up and naturally do it. So,
Right.
Do you find that you're at that habit now where you're just like, this just is part of my life? Like,
Yes, and I've changed a lot of things. Like I started reading personal development books every morning, like you just said. So every morning, I also had to get used to getting up early, like you just said. So like my nutrition club opens at 6:30. When I was at home, I got up whenever I wanted, or whenever my son decided to wake up, that's when we got up. So I had to get in the habit of getting up early again. And then...
So nutrition club is in person?
Yes.
Okay. We'll talk about that after.
Okay.
I don't want to...
No, you're fine. And then personal development is a big thing with Herbalife. You want to build yourself, not just your business. So making yourself a better person. So I started reading personal development books as soon as I opened the club. In between customers, as they come in, I would start reading my books and drink my tea. And then once I was done, like 30 minutes of reading or a couple chapters and then finish my tea, that's when I would make my shake. And that's been my routine now for 6 months or so.
What books jump out? Like what books have you read or ones that you really enjoyed?
The 10X Rule was a good one. And
Is that Grant Cardone?
I think so. I'm awful with authors.
Oh, okay.
Girl Wash Your Face was a good one. Untamed, I forget her name, the author, but that one was really good. That one was a big eye-opener for me. And then Unfuck Yourself was a good one too.
Is that what it's called, or is it The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck? That's another one too.
Unfuck Yourself is one.
Okay.
Yep. I have a whole shelf of them at my nutrition club. I can't remember them all off the top of my head.
And do you find... I've been reading like those type of books. That's primarily what I've read, and I've been reading for many years. And I a lot of them are still on my shelf, and some I've gotten rid of, and just you can't hold all of them. But I find that I heard something. This is a couple years ago, and they said because the idea of buying a book, if it's a personal development book or personal, it should help you. You know, and I'm very big on if you think it's gonna have an ROI, like a return on investment, then you should get it. And that obviously there's costs involved in certain things, and you have to have a budget and stuff. But someone said you should never have a budget on books, meaning if you want a book and you're interested in a book and you think that it's going to add value or it's something about personal development or getting better, just buy it. I don't even look at the price. If it's $30, $50, $10, $15, buy it, because the idea of a book is if you get a concept, maybe you get the entire concept and it's this massive aha, or maybe you read a line in a book, or maybe like you're literally looking for one, goose egg, golden goose or something in a book, or that could change the trajectory of your life. So, if that takes you 100 books and on average it costs you $20 a book, and you spent whatever that bit, $2,000 on books, well, you probably just had a multi-million-dollar, hundreds of thousands, $1,000,000 idea just because you read a book. And
right.
So I think that, or just put you in the mindset, like you said, to be a better person, a better version of yourself. So, okay, so books is a habit still.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And then, like I said, once I finish my tea, I go straight to my shake, and that's been my breakfast routine for a long time now. And then I am still trying to get into the routine or the habit of having a lunch shake. I don't always eat lunch. It was either breakfast or lunch I would skip before I started my Herbalife nutrition journey. So I'm still trying to continuously have my 2 shakes for breakfast and lunch, but sometimes, like today, I skipped my lunch shake. So it's just not something that I've gotten into a routine where I'm like, oh, it's this time, I got to go make my shake. Sometimes I'll have customers in and I'll forget or something.
What's a version of a snack that you would have? Or what kind of snacks are your go-to snacks?
So Herbalife makes protein bars. The vanilla almond are my favorite. So I'll usually have one of those as a snack. Or sometimes if I'm just super busy, I'll grab a spoon of peanut butter just to hold me over. Or I like to have some fruit. I'm also a very picky eater.
Okay.
So snacks are kind of hard for me. I make protein bites at my nutrition club. So a lot of the time I'll just eat a couple of those for a snack. And they're made with the same stuff that I make our shakes with. So similar in macros. Or like a cheese stick. Like a mozzarella cheese stick. I'll grab that too. Something quick and easy.
What's the nutrition club?
My nutrition club. So that is where people can come in and try the shakes, the teas, our protein coffees, any of the baked goods that I make. They can come in and talk to me about their wellness goals. It's just another outlet so I can meet people easier. Sometimes people are more willing to pop into a storefront than they are to send you a message quick. Because I notice that people follow my posts, but they don't always want to reach out or ask. When they're coming to the nutrition club, they're able to try the drinks that I'm posting, see how they taste for themselves, and then we spark a conversation.
Is this something you started?
Just this nutrition club is one that I started, but there's many all throughout the state and country.
So, and what time is the nutrition club? Like a certain time each day?
Yep, I open at 6:30 every day during the week, and I'm open on Saturdays too. I just had to adjust my hours because my little guy started learn to skate on Saturdays, but I try to open for at least breakfast and lunch.
And nutrition club starts at what time?
On
6:30 also?
On Saturday, it starts at 9:30. When my little guy's done learn to skate, I'll head right over there. So.
And how many people roughly come to nutrition club?
Depends on the day. Some days are busier than others. I have about anywhere from 5 to 20. It really just depends on.
And are they regular people?
Some of them are regulars. Every day I have new people popping in. A lot of people say, I couldn't find you. So I've been working on signage so people can find me a little easier. Or I've sent out postcards just to let people know that I'm there. And so
nutrition club, people show up. It's pretty much almost like let's call it like a winery, like a taste test. Like you go and so it's more of that. It's not people come in and make stuff themselves. It's more you do it, they taste it, they talk about it.
Right. Yep.
More like educational.
Yes. And I have a menu, so they can choose whatever drinks they want on the menu. Kind of like, I don't want to compare it to Starbucks, but like any little food place or drink place that you go.
Do you find that if you have some regular people, does anybody use it as like accountability sessions where maybe they just come in and see like-minded people and people that have the same goals? And, I know naturally you typically gravitate towards people that you have interest in, something you have interest in, whether it's a gym, whether it's nutrition, whether it's for me sometimes it's just some of my people that are in business that we jam on stuff. And I think that you attract people that are attracted to the stuff that you like.
Right.
So do you find that this is one, it's a good habit for you, but also an accountability of like, hey Kelsey, you got to get up out of bed and make sure you're there by 6:30 because like people are showing up and you got the accountability like, oh God, Jan and John and Tim are all going to be there at 6:30.
Yep. So that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to go from residential to a commercial nutrition club. It kind of gave me the accountability. It was like, oh, if you are paying rent for this place, you better show up at the right time every day. It's been a great place to hold different events to kind of get different demographics in. Like with the holidays last month for Halloween, I did Halloween crafts for the kids, and that brought in some people that had never been in before. It was like, oh, something for my kids to do, and then it showed them what I offer.
You're doing the toy donations right now?
I am.
Yep.
We're collecting non-perishable foods and unopened toys to donate for Christmas presents, and the non-perishable food will go to Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners in our local community.
Now, giving back, is that a thing for you? Have you always done that?
That has been a big thing for me. Growing up, I've noticed how giving and helpful my family is, especially my grandmother and her family. A lot of people know Jane Sample. That's my aunt. And
are you a Sample?
No, she was a nephew, and my grandma is her sister. So
what was your maiden name?
My maiden name is Mitchell.
Mitchell, okay.
Yes. So My grandmother and her siblings.
Brandon's your brother, or
Brandon's
cousin.
my cousin, yes.
Cousin, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So my grandmother and her brothers and sisters, they didn't have much growing up. So it's always been a thing while we were growing up that they would give the shirt off their back if they have to. Like whenever someone's in need, they are more than willing to give extra of what they have. And
I know the Sample family. They're good people. So.
Yes. So, like whenever someone needs meals, they're more than willing to cook food and drop it off. If there's a death in the family, they're more than willing to go to their friends' houses and help with that, whether it's cleaning or making meals or just being there for company. There was a time when I was in kindergarten, our trailer that we were living in had burnt down and all of our stuff was just gone. And I remember people bringing items and donating it to us while I was in kindergarten, giving it to me at school so I could bring home to my mom. And I'm like, wow, I'm in kindergarten and people are helping me do this.
Yeah,
and
that's
just always been something that stuck with me. So I try to give back when I can. Yeah. And I have quite a few clients that like to do community service and different events. So they keep me in the loop with what's needed. Last winter, actually, it was the day before Christmas, a family in Alberg, their house burnt down, and someone posted about it, and I said, I have all this extra stuff, and I was able to get like 6 boxes full of stuff to give to that family, because I was doing daycare at one point, so I had all kinds of extra toys for all different ages, and an extra TV, and just way too much stuff, so I was able to donate it, and it just feels so great being able to give back when you're able to.
Yeah, giving feels way better than receiving.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
So each month since I've opened the commercial space, I've tried to do some kind of fundraiser or community give back program, and that's what I plan to do as long as I stay open. So.
Yeah, that's cool. I saw that, and like I said, I think it's something we try to do. I try to do personally, and then we're trying to do as I think you noticed coming in.
Yes.
You probably couldn't. They're like, go in the conference room. I'm like, don't put it in a conference room. It's full of food. But it's it's always good to get back. And I think like I said, if you know that you're, you might be in a better position than someone else. It's always I heard this years ago, and just kind of you're better to always reach down the ladder and pull someone with you than push down on them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like don't try to push someone down to get ahead. It's always like bring people with you and try to, if you can make your life better, well, it's better to make your life better with other people.
Exactly.
It's more fun as a group. You know what I mean? So business. Now let's talk more about the business, like the actual, the small business aspect.
Okay.
So, number one, did you think you were crazy doing this when you started? Absolutely.
My husband was like, what are you getting us into? I was like, don't worry, it'll be worth it in the end.
So I guess when you started out and you had this idea, I'm guessing you were scared.
Oh yes.
You were nervous. There was a little bit of like probably self-doubt and
yes.
Am I going to fail? And people are going to think I'm a loser if I start this and fail, and all of a sudden I'm going to be this, I'm just going to be like this. I'm taking a risk, and if it doesn't pan out, I'm scared of what could happen if it doesn't pan out.
Right.
Now, how did you get... And the reason I'm saying this is because anybody that has run a business or does something as a entrepreneur, small business, whatever, they all feel this. If they don't say it, they're lying. Like, you feel nervous, you feel scared, you have self-doubt. I've been doing basically my own... for over a decade, I have self-doubt every week, sometimes every day. And, you just learn to live with it. But when you started out... What got you over the hump to say, hey, I'm doing this. I'm going to do this?
I just didn't give up. Like, if there was struggles, I was just like, okay, we'll get through it. It happens.
Are you a glass half full person?
I'm a take it as it is kind of person.
So you're a realist. You're like,
yes.
You roll with the punches?
Yep. I don't like, I'm not going to lie, I have major anxiety about everything, but I try not to worry about the little things. Like... if it's going to happen, it's going to happen, and you can't control everything. So,
So you're good dealing with stress?
Sometimes. Okay. I try to be. But one of the nuggets that I've taken away from almost every Herbalife training I've been to or call I've been on is everyone always says, do it scared. If you're not scared, don't bother. So that's what I try to live by, doing it scared and then pushing through. Like I used to be a very, very shy person. I still am sometimes, depending on the situation. So I just think in my head, you got to do
Do you
it.
push yourself out of your comfort zone?
I do a lot.
I think coming on this podcast was one of
This was one of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
I give you credit. I mean, you've said it before, and you had reached out to me, and typically if people reach out, sometimes I say absolutely yes. Sometimes I'm like, I got to do a little more research on the person, and I had seen your stuff, around on social media and stuff, and part of me, I love people that are doing stuff that is, one, I love business. I love small business because I'm part of it, but I love young people doing it because I can relate to them more than, not to say someone else that's older, but the people that are older, I typically am asking them questions because I want to learn from them. So a lot of it is, especially when you're setting your own schedule, you're your own boss, you're kind of setting the rules, you're keeping yourself accountable, you're disciplined, you're doing all the stuff that nobody's telling you to do, and you basically have to be the hardest boss is yourself, or your hardest or motivator, whatever. And I think you stepping out and putting yourself out there and trying to generate some activity for yourself.
Yep.
I think that's what you have to do. You have to be proactive.
Yes.
So getting out of your comfort zone. We all know that's where you grow. It's scary, but that's where you grow.
Yes.
Yep. And okay, and then so when you got into it and you were like, hey, I'm gonna do this. I have obviously it's difficult, but do you have a belief in yourself that you're going to succeed?
I do. I think if I try as hard as I can and I keep pushing myself, I will succeed and get to a spot that I want to be, or a place in my life that I am happy with. I mean, I'm very happy with my life right now, but there's always room to grow. I just always want to be the best person that I can be for myself, for my son, for my husband.
What's your vision for your company? Or yourself?
For myself, I'd like to one day just be able to pass my business on to my son. Herbalife is a great program, and when you reach a certain level and you decide to retire, Herbalife allows you to pass your business on to your children, and that's something that I would like to do. Just pass it on to Colin and let him have the reins if that's what he chooses to do, and if not, no big deal. I've had fun with it. So my biggest goal is just helping people. I enjoy helping people. I like to see them reach their goals, and if I can play a part in that, that makes it 10 times better for me. So
and I think anybody did you guys talk, have you ever read Start With Why by Simon Sinek?
I have not.
That might be a good book. I'll have you flip through it before you leave. Okay. But that's a good book too, because you started talking about like why and like why you do stuff, and a lot of it, if you have a very strong why or very strong purpose and you believe in it and you want to accomplish it, like you most likely will accomplish it. I think that a lot of it comes from, again, another book. Have you ever read Think and Grow Rich? You should read that one. That's a great one. That's an old school one, very old school, but it's one of the main concepts of it is if you can conceive an idea and believe an idea, you can achieve an idea. So with the ideas, it's mindset. It's a lot of visualization. It's like, hey, if I want something, as long as I really want it and I can see it and I'm willing to put the work in to get it, you'll get it. It's kind of like the law of attraction and all this stuff. And I think, I find that while it sounds cheesy and it's like, it's true. Like, and I find, I've used it for, most of my life playing sports and work and stuff like that. And a lot of, certain things you just envision or you want and you're just like, this will happen. And a lot of it is just that self-belief. But then it's like, if you are fixated on something, eventually it's going to come into your actual being. Like, you're going to actually be able to touch it and feel it. And it's not just an idea anymore. It's actually it's tangible. And so vision-wise, that is that's your main driver each day. Obviously, you have the small stuff, but you're obviously working towards something, like you said, bigger. Like, hey, can I give a generational kind of, higher wealth or pass off in the future? Now, what part of small business have you found is the most difficult, and what have you found is, say, the most rewarding, but maybe the most fun?
The most difficult is just always trying to find ways to attract new people to coming in or to the business. A lot of people don't like multi-level marketing, and that's what they assume Herbalife is. They think, oh, a smoothie shop's opening up. Oh, it's just Herbalife. Don't want to go there. A lot of people have their opinions about Herbalife nutrition and what it's about. And that's hard to get past because once someone has an opinion, it's very hard to change their mind. So just trying to continue to be this happy, upbeat person that's willing to help and answer questions is just the best that I can do when it comes to situations like that.
Do you find, so multi-level marketing obviously, I know, has a negative connotation to some people. Yep. I think the negative aspect of multi-level marketing, or at least that I would think of, is when you get the people that are in it and all they do is like blow you up of like recruit, right. Like get in here. And I think some people are like, dude, I'm not interested, because you got to find someone to do that type of business. They got to have that kind of like they got to want to do it,
right?
And you can't force someone into doing something like that, because you know how hard it is. It's not easy. It's not like everybody would do it if it was easy, and
right.
And I think the idea of what you're saying is, listen, I have a platform. They've given me, you know, it's like the franchise model. They've given me the McDonald's, you know, the idea, like the process of that. I drop myself in it, but then I do have the freedom to do what I want. Because it sounds like they're not as, like McDonald's is like, your store's going to look like this. Here's this how you can dress. This, like they have it down to everything.
Yep.
This business is a little more of like, you can use our banner, franchise fee, whatever. But then you have a lot of, you can deal with the nuances day to day. You can make the decisions. You don't have to sit there and ask, you know, corporate to say, I mean, I'm sure you have certain things for marketing, like colors and stuff they want you to use. But at the end of the day, like you can market where you want. You can spend how much you want in marketing. You can you can do podcasts. You can go to events. You can, you know, you can do giveaways. You can do whatever. And they're gonna be like, hey, as long as you're doing what you need to do, there's really not a whole lot of skin off their back. It's just you would stop ordering the products. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Herbalife Nutrition has their own rules that we have to follow when it comes to club model or what we're posting on social media. But a lot of it is open-ended, so you can do what you want. Like, I designed my club how I wanted. You can decide what drinks you have. You make your own drinks. Yeah, we're using the products, but you're coming up with your own names. You're coming up with your own recipes. And basically just trying to be genuine in yourself with your business. And
so the names of your drinks, you can create those?
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be like the Smoothie Blaster or something. You can call it whatever you want.
Yeah, I can call it, as long as it's not a copyrighted name, we can call it whatever.
So you can call it like the Champy or something, like Champlain.
Totally.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah.
Yes. Like on my birthday, I had the Kelsey tea, or on my son's birthday, I was like, oh, come have the Colin. Or
so what's some of the names of some of your drinks? So give me like 3 or 4 of them.
So I have a unicorn. I have strawberry dragon fruit. I've got the fruity roll. What's another crazy one? Tropical mermaid. I had Buddy the elf the other day.
I love it.
Yes, snozberry.
I was gonna say, is that just candy canes and spaghetti or sugar and maple syrup?
You'd be surprised.
Was it the 4 food groups? Whatever Buddy drinks there?
Should have been. Yeah. Mostly, I just try to make the same colors as like whatever I'm naming it after.
Throw some kiwi in there.
Yeah, like the candy cane. People thought it was going to be mint. It was actually strawberry and coconut.
So when it comes to, again, business-wise, because this is the thing I think people forget when they have small businesses. Like, you think that, oh, you're selling something, and then it's like, then you're done. You lock the door and go home.
Right.
I'm like small business, I think, do you think about it all the time?
All the time.
Okay. So small bit, and I've realized this now, is like people that run businesses, just their mind never shuts off. And,
right.
You know, you think about your business is like a child. Like, you think about it like you would your own family. And you know, I think that if I'm not doing something with my kids, my mind is most likely on something that results in my business.
Right.
And again, if you're starting off, you open the door, you shut the door, you clean, you cook, you pick up, you sell, you come up with the marketing, you do your financing, you do bookkeeping, you organize for your taxes, you drive places, you deliver, like any role as a small business. If you take every role in the company, you put Kelsey under every single name.
Right.
And I think what people don't see is the hours you're in the shop or in your store. my guess is probably 50% of what actually happens in the business.
Right.
Maybe maybe higher or lower than that, but I'm guessing you're putting just as much time off hours as you are on hours, like when the shop's open.
Because like when I'm home, I'm on Canva making different graphics or figuring out what teas and shakes I'm gonna offer for the day, or what my holiday menu is gonna look like, or what events I'm gonna do next to get people in. It's just constant.
Yeah, I mean, like marketing and then you say like budgeting, profit margins. Like, do I raise the drinks up 30 cents? If I do, how many do I have to sell? With that's my number, that's my net, that's my expense, that's my net or my operating. Like, you start running all these numbers in your head, and then it's like, okay, I'll move it up. And I think this always happens. I had a conversation with Nick before you were here, and we were going over stuff, and I'm actually trying to find stuff to take off my plate to slide me over to work on other stuff. So it's like you start like, it's like a massive chess game you constantly are playing, as you grow, opportunities present themselves, and then you have to then level up, which again is pushing me out of that like my comfort zone. Like, I can sit back, but like I'm wired, like I want to always grow. So then I'm naturally like, well, there's an opportunity that's scary. All right, let's try it.
Yep.
And it's not like I'm not. I made it sound easier. It's not like I'm like, yay, let's go do it. I'm like, oh God, should I do this? And then you're playing in your mind like positives, negatives, and finally it's just you gotta like talk yourself into just do it. Like, stop being scared, stop being nervous, whatever. And that never goes away. I think it's fun. It's like it's an adrenaline. I think you're chasing something, but you're never. When you talk about goals, like, I think it's good to have goals, but I think your goals should expand. And I think at some point in time, everything's going to change, not in a bad way, but like it'll evolve, and you become a better person. Like your company will be better. Like you've been open a year. Like most small businesses fail in a year, and the fact that you're open is like, bam, already be a major hurdle.
Yes.
And then it's like you get to year 2 and year 3. And do you have any? Do you want to ever expand it out, or do you ever want to grow it where it's more than just Kelsey?
I would love to. Herbalife is big on building a team. You can't really get far just being by yourself. So trying to build my team is something that I've been doing. I have 4 coaches under me at the moment, and they're able to work at my nutrition club. 2 of them have their own residential nutrition clubs where they're doing the teas and shakes out of their house. One of my coaches is just strictly social media, where she just kind of reaches out to people that like her posts and goes from there. So there's many different ways you can go once you are an Herbalife distributor. It just depends on what you want to do and how you want to grow. But the biggest thing is building your team, and then usually your team is someone that has the same goals as you, and then you're able to work together and bounce ideas off each other.
Do you have anybody on payroll right now?
No, I don't pay
so it's
anyone
just,
right now.
The other ones are those people you talked about.
Yep, they're just doing their own thing. They're making their own money. I don't pay them.
But you would be there for guidance or leadership or support.
If they have questions or need help or support with the business, I'm right there. Or recipes, they can reach out to me for anything, and they know that.
Now, do you have mentors that you talk to?
Yes, I do.
And how has that played a role in the growth or getting into it?
My mentors are the ones that really got me into wanting to be an Herbalife distributor. Watching them grow, they've been in the business. One of them's been in the business for 9 years, and just watching her grow, she now has 2 nutrition clubs of her own, and she's going up the ladder, the marketing ladder, and she's just doing really well with her business. And it's motivated me to think, oh, I can do this too. And that's what pushed me to open my commercial club. She pushed me into joining, and has really lifted me up and helped me realize the leader that I am and can be, and has really pushed me to wanting to do more, which was awesome because I'd probably still be a couch potato at home. So
Did you have these mentors prior to getting, like when you started talking about like your fitness journey, because this was a few months into it, when you started to work out and you started to focus more on your nutrition, were these people that kind of came into your life during that time?
Yes. So these were people that were doing the workouts on the Zoom, or leading the body transformation challenge, or just posting motivational sayings or quotes or stuff like that, and then having conversations with them. It just kind of all led to where I am now.
Now, I guess now that you own the business, do you think that this is kind of like this is it? You just like you finally got away from, you know, and I find I don't think I could ever work for anybody. I just think I'm not wired that way. I like having the freedom. But I'm also very I'm someone that's proactive and you know, kind of answer to myself kind of person. Do you find that that's now you? Like you're like,
yes.
I don't think I could go back to working for someone else or another job or.
Well, once I had my son, I knew I didn't want to work for someone else. That's why I was a stay-at-home mom, and then I tried to do daycare, and then I found Herbalife. But I like the time freedom. I like not having to answer to someone if my son has an appointment and I have to bring him to that. I didn't enjoy having to call out if he was sick. And that's just all stuff that kind of pushed me to being my own boss, so I could have that freedom to have a mommy call-in day or just to not miss out on stuff that he was doing while growing up.
Well, I think today's day and age, like the way businesses evolved from, you know, kind of when we were kids and our parents and the generations before, it's like there was so much of like punch a clock and leave. And I remember when I was in college, so I went in for supply chain management, and I got my degree, went to Plattsburgh State. And I remember there was two moments that pretty much solidified that I didn't want to work for people. And one of them was I worked in a job at an ice cream stand in high school, and I worked there from 14 to 20. Great job. I'm not like nothing knocking the job, but it was a very easy job. I always laugh. I was sitting in an air conditioning little box, basically a little ice cream shack by myself or with me, one other person. Had AC. It wasn't bad. I looked across the road and there was the local apple orchard, and like, you know, some of my buddies worked there and they were out in like the fields, like weed whacking and stuff. I'm like, this is very cushy. But the negative was the hours were always, you know, basically midday to close, which is like 9 o'clock at night. So, you know, to sit there, it would be it'd be summer, it'd be like 80 degrees out, you know, a nice sunny day, and you're sitting in this, you know, in this room, and you're like, God, like my friends there's a party, or my buddies are going here, or there's a family event, and it's like you couldn't go because you had to be at this place. And I remember sitting there thinking, so I'm here, say, let's call it 8 to 9 hours. I'm here at this job for 8 to 9 hours today. How much of the 8 to 9 hours am I actually working? And I kind of broke it down. I was kind of going through how long does it take to set up, how long does it take to wipe down, you know, average, how many, and again, I'm like a nerdy kid, so I'm like sitting there like writing all this stuff down and figuring it out. And I would say in an 8 to 9 hours, conservatively, all the work combined was probably 3 hours tops.
Right.
And majority of the time is sitting and waiting, sitting and waiting, sitting and waiting. And I remember sitting there, I'm like, I would rather just do 3 hours of work and go spend the other 5 out just having fun, but do the same amount of work. Like do the same amount of work, but just condense the time.
Right.
So that was one. And then number two, I had and this was roughly about the same time. I had an internship, and I already had my real estate license at the time, and because I got in college, but I remember going to the internship, and I pulled in, and I had to be there from 8:30 to 11:30 every single day, Monday through Friday, for the entire semester. And it sucked. It was corporate. I hated it. But I remember sitting there in the parking lot. I would roll in at like 8:27, 8:28, you know, a couple minutes before, and I would park and I would walk in. And as an intern, they didn't like really care. So a couple times throughout the semester, at the very beginning, I saw this lady. She would get out of her car. It was 10 years ago. I'm guessing she was probably like around 50 at the time, maybe like early 50s. And I remember she would get out, you know, and this lady, she would have like dressing professional. So and what I'm saying, she probably had like heels on or something like that. And she would throw a bag over. She had her bag that she came out of her car. And I would see her run from her car to the building. And she was doing that like once or twice a week. And I was like, and the same lady, I was like, this is weird. Like, why is she, like, she's dressed up. Why is she running? Just like walk, like be normal. Like just walk. And then in my head, it finally dawned on me. I'm like, if she doesn't show up at 8:30, she gets docked. Like she would have to punch a clock, and she doesn't punch a clock. There's some type of consequence, which obviously was not good because she was willing to run into the office to like sit down at the computer to like punch in that she was there by 8:30.
Yep.
And I remember watching that, and I'm like, and here she is at 50. She's not a kid. She's not a child. She's a grown adult. And here she is like a slave to this time. And I'm like, why? That makes zero sense to me. And I was 20 years old at the time. Like, that's stupid. Like, why? Yep. And I'm one, like, get your work done and you're good. I don't care when you do your work. Just like, you know, you got your job, you know, your tasks to do. Just get it done. Like, if you get it done really fast and efficient, then great. But those were two things that I was like, you know what? I'm going to work for myself because I just don't want to have answer to somebody. Because I think part of it is, it's just crazy that like today, I got up, I had to go do some stuff this morning, and it wasn't like I didn't have to meet anybody this morning, but it was like I got up, brought my kid to school, you know, went, did my thing, and as I'm doing it, I'm listening to stuff in the car that I needed to listen to, and it was like, but I didn't feel rushed. I had a very calm morning. I had a very great day, and then it's like, then I get to do a podcast, which people are like, oh, like, I don't talk, like, my phone's not here. It's great. I get to sit down, talk to somebody, and just like, it's kind of nice. And I don't know if you're the same, where it's nice to get away from your phone sometimes, but it's just like nice to kind of like disconnect and chill. And I find I wouldn't be able to do that in certain jobs, but it's like I've been able to create this world that I live in where, you know, through hard work and through time and everything else, it's like you get to kind of create your day a little bit, and it's fun. And it takes time. It's like the upfront. So you're like, you know, I'm sure when you first started, things are probably a little better, more controlled now than the first, you know, because you're probably like, you know, running around like crazy the first few months, like, I don't know what I'm doing, and this happened, I didn't know that I had to do this and this. And what has been your biggest, sorry about ranting, I'm just saying that my rant was about finding something you like to do, but, you know, obviously, like, I think people choose not to work for people because of, you know, the life you can create. It obviously takes work. It's not like you, just because you choose to do it, it's going to happen. You have to put the work in, but it gives you that pathway to do so. What's some stuff that you, now a year in, that has happened that you didn't expect to happen, good and bad, meaning this was a problem I had to overcome that I didn't foresee coming, and here's something cool that happened that wasn't even on my radar when I started this, but this now happens.
Let's think.
So let's do the negative thing. Is there anything when you started out, a month in, 3 months in, 6 months in, a year in, where you're like, oh, I didn't even know I had to learn about this, and now I do?
Doing my own taxes, that was a huge learning curve. I was finding like everything was just crazy. I'm like, oh, I have another form to fill out. Oh, I need an EIN. Oh, I need to fill out for sales tax. Oh, I have to pay sales tax. It's just like all that business stuff.
Do you pay quarterly taxes?
Yes. Yeah. I was like, I didn't realize this was going to be so much work, but I mean, I did it. Yeah. So figured it out, and I knew I could figure it out. It's just at first I'm like, I don't want to do all of this, but I have to. So, and then like finding deductions, like it's crazy what you're able to deduct for expenses and all that. And then just finding people that want to work has been a struggle. Like with right now with COVID, like everyone's scared of the virus, or everyone's looking for help, and it's hard. It's hard
to find employees right now.
It's very hard. Like going down the main strip in Plattsburgh, everyone has a help wanted sign, and it's. Or
you show up to a restaurant like, oh, we're closed tonight. Like, what? Saturday? Like, it's 5 o'clock on a Saturday. How do you close? But
it's so crazy compared to like growing up when everything's just so readily available. But that's been a struggle, finding some help so I'm not alone at the nutrition club, but it's fine for now. But it would be nice to have someone there to not just like to work with, but to like talk to, because when you're there by yourself all day, you're like, what are you gonna do? Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing with like mentors and even just reaching out. One thing I've found is some of my best friends I've met through business, just because, again, like-minded people, and you kind of, you know, when you circle yourself with people that have common interests as you, it kind of elevates your game a little bit. And these people aren't real estate. I mean, these are just. So I have some friends. I have mentors in real estate, but I have mentors that are just people that have done business at all different ages, and just to call them up and have a half hour, 20-minute, 15-minute, 10-minute conversation adds. And it could just be like, hey, let me run this by you, or hey, I just got all this crap swimming around in my head, as you said. Our minds never shut off.
Right.
I just need to mind dump this on somebody, and they get their input, and then I'd be like, okay, I can dump a bunch of that stuff or focus on this. And now, what has been something that has been a rewarding in your first year, something rewarding that you never anticipated when you started?
So I actually never thought I would have a commercial space, and then being able to find a commercial space and build it from the ground up by myself, it was fantastic. I've never felt so much better about myself than I did when I opened, because I was looking at spaces. Well, I was out for a walk with my son, and I was like, oh, there's a space empty right there. And I went home and I called the number for the first space I looked at. And then I told my husband, I'm going to look at a commercial space. You're doing what, Kelsey? You're going to look at a commercial space for what? And I said, I want to stop doing this at home. I want to do it full time. Okay. It was very, very
And were you at the
iffy.
ARC when you started?
No, I was.
Because you were a stay-at-home mom.
I was a stay-at-home mom then. Yep. So then the man that owns my building actually knocked on my door one day, and he said, I heard you're looking for a commercial space, and I have one if you want to come look at it. So I walked down to the space with him, because we just lived down the road. And he showed me the space. There was wires hanging from the ceiling. There was no floor. There was no doors on anything. Like, there was no doors on the bathroom. There was no doors on the closet. It was just a big empty room that was having all the electrical redone, and half of the ceiling was missing. So it took a lot of vision.
You can keep time.
Okay.
So I was talking about, we're at a live train station. So you're going to hear.
Yes.
Actually, this is kind of. I don't know what time it is. Right, that clock's wrong. So it's over there. But this is in the afternoon. Usually they go in the morning.
Oh.
So like an afternoon one, I'm like, this is kind of off schedule right now.
Yep.
But and the problem is this is like a cargo one, so these go by and they take a few minutes to go by.
They take a little
It's
while.
fine. They start to slow down. People get used to the noise and like, okay, now I can hear them again.
Yeah.
So.
So it took a lot of vision for me to kind of see my nutrition club there. And then I also didn't have a ton of money. I only had like $5,000 saved, and we made it work. So almost everything in my nutrition club I found at garage sales for $1 or free on the side of the road. And that's what we did. I just upcycled as much as I could find and did it as cheaply as I could so I can make it work. And I also wanted to have it done like as fast as possible, because I didn't want to pay rent on a space that I wasn't using and making money off of. So I gave my contractor a 4-week timeline, and we got it done in 4 weeks. So I had to hire the contractor to do all my plumbing, because I knew nothing about plumbing. And I kind of gave him the idea of how I wanted my bar to look, and then I found cabinets on the side of the road and brought those in. I said, I found these cabinets, can you make it into a bar? And we made it work.
So obviously, like, you had your vision, you were able
Yes.
to pull off the vision, and again, a lot of it was, kind of starting out. You bet on yourself. You kind of, like you said, put your money where your mouth is, and you put the capital up. And do you find that, doing everything and starting off and, kind of coming from a place where I don't, this is so new to me and intimidating, and being able to, figure it out, there's obviously a level, like you said, of pride.
Right.
You did it, and it's like, I came up with something and now it's here. But then you started talking about kind of being lean and mean. Like, I think when you start out in any business, like, all you have when it's time and money. Everything, a lot of stuff is time and money.
Right.
Because if you have money, you can buy your time back. If you don't have money, you have your time. So it's more of like when you're starting out, like, I don't have a ton of money, but I can be thrifty. I can go pick something on the side of the road. I can sit there on a Saturday and scrape all the paint down and repaint it and repurpose it and refurbish it so then it looks halfway decent. And a lot of stuff just needs some elbow grease and time. Yep. And I think, at least speaking for myself, but I think speaking for a lot of people, you start off and you put so much time, just time and effort in, because you don't have the money to spend. And then eventually you start to get more money and you can leverage your time a bit, which is like employees, or it might be, like you said, it's technology or something. But at that very onset, it's like running lean is always really good. It's always good to run lean, but especially when you're starting out, it's like you almost have to do it out of necessity. So do you find that that's like just the grinder mindset of just like, I'm just going to make this happen?
Yes, that was a lot of it. And then just taking all my extra time when I have it and putting it into the nutrition club. And then it was just so rewarding afterwards, because people come in and are like, wow, this looks so nice in here. And I'm like, thanks. It took a lot of work, but I did it myself.
Did you do a lot of the work yourself?
I did. I did as much as I could by myself,
Yeah.
just because I didn't want to put a lot of extra money into labor. My grandfather was a contractor the majority of his life, but he has bad knees. And if he didn't have bad knees, he would have did the work for me. But he's getting older now, so
Did
I
he give you some
definitely,
pointers?
yes, was more than willing to come in and tell me what to do and how to do it. And then I told him politely to please leave because he was stressing me out. But once I got the gist of it, was able to do a lot of it myself. And growing up, I would help him on his contracting jobs, so I knew a lot of different stuff. But
I always find like sometimes just working, like putting on some music and just chilling and just like
Yep.
getting down and dirty and doing something, it's just relaxing.
yes, and that's what I did. Like as soon as my husband got home from work, I'm like, okay, it's your turn with the
Little dude.
with the baby. So I'm leaving, and then he would have his little meltdown because he's very attached to mom. But I just go.
Oh, I thought you meant Joey. No.
Oh yeah, him too. He would have a meltdown too.
Okay, so do you find, because everything you're saying, which this is the stuff I love, because I love talking about, like, I'm always fascinated how people start their business, and down to like you that are year in, and I'm fascinated how like really like high level executives, founders like start their business. I just love the journey.
Yep.
And do you find that of all the stuff that you have done in the last year, like the amount of stuff you've learned how to do, that like when you start talking about going to college and getting like an MBA and all these crazy things, it's like go open a small business and run it for a year or two.
Yep.
You will learn more than you will ever learn, I think, as a college degree. And I think a lot of it is because it's real life application.
Right.
And I think a lot of it, you realize how hard it is and how stressful it is, and how, but you also realize like how much that like just a little taste of success is addicting. And it's like that overcoming or pushing through boundaries or pushing through barriers and being like grow and like, or expand or whatever, you keep becoming a better person. I think for me, that's always been, it's like a drug. It's like a legal drug. It's like that adrenaline. It's like that feeling that you get. Like you said, you put this building together, you had a vision, you put it together, you can physically see it now. We talked about that idea to something tangible. And then you kind of get that pride of like, shit, I pulled this off.
Yep.
Now it's like, okay, what's the next thing? And like, what's the
Right.
next thing? And like, what more can I do? So do you find that you're now like a little bit more badass than you were a year ago?
Yes, and I'm very good at finding deals online. I've figured out because like the health department requires certain sinks and like that kind of stuff. So I had to do a lot of research, and normally I'd be like, okay, I found one and just pick the first one. But I had to be a little more frugal because my budget was lower than most. So
But also you start talking about rules and regulations and
That
stuff. 'Cause
too.
you're like, okay, I'm doing this nutrition thing. It's like, oh, here's the health department knocking.
Yep.
Like, oh crap, now I have, all right, so I forgot there's some, government stuff I got to deal with here.
Yep.
And then that's always something that's a learning curve. Because I think a lot of people, myself included, like I'm still learning stuff to this day of
Yep.
like, oh man, I need to do this. Okay, I need to do this. But I think, over time, you realize there's people that, one, you can learn anything on the internet.
Yep.
I mean, Google or YouTube, anything. I watch
yeah.
so much YouTube, but a lot of like how to do stuff on YouTube. But then there's also benefit to building up your network of people. So you have people that you trust, and then you can, like, I have accounting questions. I have my accountant. He's a great guy, great dude, super knowledgeable.
Yep.
I just ask him. I'm like, I'm not going to waste my time. I'm just going to ask you, because I know you know what you're doing, and it's going to take me forever to find out what I could just ask you. And then you're also going to follow it up with a bunch of other stuff that I wouldn't even have known to ask.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like you find, I think it's super valuable to have like a group of people that are like your inner circle, that are just people you trust. And especially in the, you said in the business field, it's like, yeah, finance, you got, accounting, you have, legal, you have all this stuff that you really need. And I think like kind of aligning yourself with like a group of Avengers kind of thing, of like business Avengers that you can then look at, and they're the people that help you out too. And they're the ones that grow you. And
Right.
Have you found that you've now being in a, small business nutrition, have you aligned or have you reached out or talked to other business people in the community?
Yes. So One thing that I do to try to get more business in is I do tea drops, and I try to do them to all the local businesses, kind of let them know that I'm there, give them samples. So a tea drop is just, I'll make smaller versions of our teas, about usually 12 to 20 ounces, depending what cups I have extra of. I'll make a bunch of them and then just drop a few at the different businesses, pop in, give them a business card, introduce myself, tell them where I am, what I'm about, and then give them the samples, and they try it. And I don't usually try to do enough so like every person in the business gets one. I just try to do like one or two, and kind of creates hype. And then they're like, oh, what's that? I want to try that. Where'd you get it? And it kind of helps bring people in and introduce people to what I'm selling, what products I have, and what is available, because like my business card that I hand out, it has all my information, my website, and then on the back it says bring this card in to redeem $1 off your first purchase and have a free wellness profile. So that kind of starts the conversation of what their goals are, what brought them in, that kind of stuff.
Do you find that it might be are people nervous to come talk to you for the first time?
Yes, and I assume that they're nervous because I'm very nervous going in, bringing them teas and explaining what I'm doing. That's been a huge thing I've had to overcome within the last year. I don't like to do it, but it helps, and I need to get out of my comfort zone and talk to as many people as possible, because if I'm not talking to them, they don't know what I'm about or who I am. So that's a big thing with the business. And
so, like you had just said, the best businesses in the world have relationships.
Yes.
I mean, there's a couple things. I mean, you can talk you can talk about brand, you can talk about relationships, you can talk about, track record or your actual, how good you are at something. But I think at the end of the day, the more people you know, the more, I wouldn't say the amount of people, but the quality of people,
right.
And that's where I think you're definitely saying the right stuff. It's like, it's nerve wracking to go talk to people.
It is.
And, I can already tell, at least when you came in, you said you were nervous about coming on here. You've been fine. Like I said, most people, you'd be fine at it. But the idea is when you start out, I guarantee if you look at yourself now for 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you will be totally different, and I think that you carry yourself different, but I think you become more confident because one, you have to know what you're talking about, and even right now, I think you probably know a lot of what you're talking about, and you'll always pick up on stuff, but I think a lot of it is also proving to yourself that you know a lot of what you're talking about,
yes.
I think there's always that thing in the back of your head, and I did this for real estate. I was probably in real estate for like 5 years or 6 years before I really had a moment where I'm like, you know what, I know what I'm doing now. Like, and I think a lot of it was that self-belief I didn't have in myself, because I always doubted myself of like, I don't think you really know what you're doing. Like, learn it, okay? But there was finally a point where I remember sitting there and I was like, oh, I'm actually legit now.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a cocky thing, but it was more to myself. I almost I could pull back that curtain and be like, oh no, you're good. Like, you proved I proved to myself that I could accept myself as being someone that was a subject expert in my field. And I think that's, something that if you haven't hit that yet, I think at some point you're going to do it and be like, you know what? I'm Kelsey, man. People know me, and I'm the nutrition person or whatever. And then you start to build this, and then that leads to opportunities. And I find that, people that are, successful, but very, I wouldn't say successful, but they have like that self-belief, but they carry themselves with some confidence. Attract people that carry themselves with confidence. Right. And then what happens is you just kind of keep building each other up. So
yes, and if you know my husband, he was always the talker and the social butterfly.
Always so quiet though when I see him.
So quiet. And I was always just the one standing behind him, like, okay, he knows everybody, we'll just let him talk. Yeah. So it kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone because I couldn't rely on him to do all the talking for me anymore.
Well, eventually you're going to get to the point where you're going to go to events and they're going to be talking to you and be like, oh, by the way, this is my husband, Joey.
Right, because everyone always knew me as Joey Reif's wife. And now, actually, I was in a parking lot over the Durkee Street parking lot dropping off my friend's daughter to her, and my husband's old basketball coach was parked next to me, and he goes, Reif, you married to Joey? And I said, yes, that's me. And he goes, oh, okay, but you do the teas, right? And I was like, oh, you know me for me. So
How and shout out to Joey. He's on Margaret Street.
Yes, he is working at the bank right now.
TD Bank. Yep. Been there. I was gonna say, does Joey own the bank yet?
Oh, he acts like he owns the bank. The bank will not run without Joey.
Joey, no, he's a good dude. I actually saw him the other day. He was crossing the road. He must have parked and was running across, but he had his blue suit on. So,
oh yeah.
But do you find now that you are, people are starting to recognize you, maybe visual by your face, or maybe just by name? Like you said, I haven't met you before, but I knew of what you did, and that's, I think kind of when you had reached out, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I knew you were Joey's wife, but that was not the reason that I was like, but I think, like you said, have you gotten to the point where you're starting to recognize you?
Yes.
And how does that feel when someone finally says like that one, like you do the T, right? Like,
yeah, it's kind of weird, but I'm getting used to it. So before I got cold, I would do walking groups, and I would see people looking at me and pointing, oh, that's the T girl. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. Stop on by.
Yeah, and a lot of that too, because you're gonna find as like in business, and I've spent a ton of time on social media, and I've spent time because the thing is, people do business with who they know, like, and trust.
Right.
And that's true in any business that you do. It's relationships. So when you say know, like, and trust, like number one, like social media or whatever you do, if you have the nutrition club and having people come in. Well, actually, let's push that aside. Let's just say like social media and marketing. That's so people know you. So they know your name, they know your company, they know where you're located, all that jazz. As soon as they come in, so the know, like, and trust, they have to typically they have to physically meet you. They might just like you because of your content.
Right.
But a lot of the times, that, again, initiates the in-person. The in-person is when someone can then like you. So like you might just mean, hey, they're a nice person to talk to, or I enjoyed their company, or whatever the case might be. And then once you establish that relationship and go deeper, then it becomes the trust factor, where it's like, you know what, I know of Kelsey, I like her, she's got a cute shop, or drinks are good or whatever, but then it's those one-on-one talks, like they just come in and stop in, and then you talk about their kids, or talk about their family, or talk about the holiday, or talk about, hey, I saw, oh my God, you just put new landscaping in the front yard, like that's beautiful. Who did you do it by yourself? And then you have these conversations, and then it's like, you know what, I'm really connecting with Kelsey.
Right. Now
it's like, let's take that next step, or let's do, or maybe it's just like, hey, it becomes a lifelong friend, and then you have, wine time or something.
Right.
Fun.
And I try really hard to remember everyone's names too. Like some of my clients, they came in once, and then they came in a month later for a second time. I'm like, oh, hey, Mark, how are you? You know my name? I'm like, you were just here a month ago. I try to remember your name. It helps, like being personable and getting to know people. And
back to a book, I think it is How to Influence Friends, or How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dale Carnegie. So it's a book, another book you should read. But one of the things in there is, just said the sweetest sound to any person is the sound of their own name.
Right.
And that's the idea. Like you can say, I say it a lot too. Like I'll repeat people's names if I don't know how to like recognize, like just because it's one, it reinforces memory. But I find that faces, you can recognize. You remember faces? I drove by a house today. I'm like, oh yeah, I sold that house, and I'm like, I remember what they looked like. Couldn't remember their names. Right. But this was years ago.
Well, even with like actresses and actors, Joey's always trying to tell you know so and so. I'm like, I don't know their names. I know their faces, but I don't know their names. And sometimes it's like that in real life. But I try to make it a point to remember, especially if it's someone coming in all the time.
Yeah, and one of the perfect examples. Did you ever go to Mr. Wu's down in?
Oh yeah, I know Mr. Wu.
Yeah, Mr. Wu's legit.
Like, oh yeah.
So the thing is, you go down there. That guy doesn't forget a name ever.
Oh, I saw him at a store recently, and he knew who I was.
Yeah. And it's incredible. And the thing is, so one time I was sitting in, and this wasn't long ago. This might have been like 5-6 years ago, and he had been out of business for a handful of years at that point. And I remember seeing him and Mrs. Wu, and they were walking through the mall, and he came up and tapped me on the shoulder and was like, "Get in!" And I'm like, Mr. Wu, what's up? And the crazy thing was, I mean, I hadn't seen him in person at his restaurant probably 5 or 6 years at that point. And so here it is, 5 to 6 years removed. I'm not, at the time, I was like mid-20s. So it's like, you got to think, like, from the time I was like 18, 19, 20 to the time you're 25, you change your appearance, you know? And then he was sitting there, he's like, how's your sister? How's your mom? And by name, not like how's your sister. It was like, hey, how's Sagan doing? I'm like, good. He goes, is she still in Florida? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, this is... But he's and he's always been like that. I remember that when I was a kid.
Always.
Like, Mr. Wu was always, like, you went in and it just felt like you were, like, going to someone's house, like a friend's house.
Yep.
But I think that's someone that I think he always understood. One, he has a fantastic memory, but he
Yes.
always understood the value of bringing those relationships. He wouldn't just like you walk in; he would walk around and talk to you, and the the waitresses or the waiter would talk to you. And I think by establishing that, and then seeing years later and him still bringing it, then it's like I only have a positive view of the man because of his just his ability to just make you talk to you, but care about you enough to remember your name years later, especially your immediate family, and then
and he was always so giving too. I remember Chinese New Year, he would always give me one of the masks that were on the wall.
I had a bunch of those.
Yep, same.
Do you remember? God, this is so funny. This brings back memories. Remember the movie? Was it Three Ninjas?
Oh yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Like Tom Tom or Tim Tim, like was one of the kids, and all the three brothers, and the grandfather was like Mr. Miyagi, and he was always teaching them like karate, and then. They all had the colors and they paint the mask and they had like the mask they would wear. And I remember that movie came out. Was it Three Ninjas? I think I was right.
I think so.
I think it was Three Ninjas, and I just remember they would like spray paint the faces and all this, and it was like a cool movie. But then Mr. Wu ended up getting all the masks and they had like the different designs on them, and they were just like these like little, almost like paper mache, kind of like a little harder than that,
right?
But, masks, and those things were so cool.
They were. And
I remember we had those for years. I bet you if I went to my parents' house, they'd be still somewhere.
Oh, they're probably in my grandmother's basement somewhere.
But so I wonder how many he had. But yeah, he gave them to all the kids.
Yeah.
And you always look forward to it. Like
he did.
Because Chinese New Year, I think, was always like February.
I think
it was always like a weird January, February. It was always odd time, but we'd like go in, especially if you went on on Chinese New Year's. It was like a big deal, and he'd have all these extra things going on. I loved it.
He was awesome. He was my favorite restaurant growing up. We would always go there.
Oh, absolutely. and even to this day, I would say that Chinese food was my favorite growing up. I will say, though, if you have not been, China Cafe in the mall, Teddy.
Oh, they're very good.
They're right there. So, I mean, and that's one. They've been around for forever, too. So.
Mr. Wu's soup will always be my favorite. The wonton.
Yes. Mr. Wu's soup and egg rolls, to me, was always like, that was... You always got that first.
Yep.
And I was always a big fan of that. And I also loved his fried rice, but I'd always take the spare rib sauce and I would
put it on it. Yeah. Every time.
Yeah. It was amazing. Like everybody knows the trick at Mr. Wu's, and so like it's incredible because one, they made it like, from my memory, very fresh. Like it wasn't anything. And like I said, then the Chan family in the mall, like those guys, same thing. And I had Teddy on the podcast before, and just when you start really diving into those, the pride they take in the food.
Right.
Like Teddy said, he goes, I'm not going to cheapen down the food. He goes, I'll work the crazy hours. I'll put the time in because I want to make sure that I'm putting out the absolute best, most excellent product I can put out. And I'm not going to skip corners. I'm not going to cut corners. And I think, when you look at someone like that, you just know they put so much into every, like you'll get it. The food's incredible. And the thing, and I've talked to him, like, did you guys ever want to leave the mall? Did you ever want to, and he goes, we never left the mall. We don't offer delivery. We don't anything. But people come, like DoorDash will come pick it up and bring it. Like people will come to our place and bring it. And I think, like I said, we talk about the product. Like his product is so good. Mr. Wu's product was so good, especially the relationship aspect. It's like that's why you went. It's like people. I mean, it wasn't even Mr. Wu's. It was Wong Kwang or Wong Kong.
Wong Kwang.
Wong Kong or something. It was the yellow sign, the same spot Yama is, but I don't even remember the name of it. It was just Mr. Wu's.
It was just Mr. Wu's.
And
every
everybody
time.
called it, oh, you want Mr. Wu's. And it was just, it's funny how the name of the company and the building wasn't even on the storefront. It wasn't even, but that was what the locals was just like, yeah, it's Mr. Wu's shop. And then it was like, remember we used to cut out of school, but we'd have like half days at school. And we were old enough to drive. We just like, a bunch of us would just drive down to Mr. Wu's and have lunch. And that was like our thing, was like, and I remember doing that for a couple of years. It was like, hey, half day, we're going to Mr. Wu's. Like, and I don't know why that was, but it was so much fun. So back to anything else now with obviously nutrition and with the fitness, kind of diving into maybe the future aspect of it. You talked a little bit about obviously trying to build up the company. What's your future plans in regards to just weight loss or health or fitness or anything like that for you? Do you have a goal in mind, or are you just more of like, hey, day by day healthy lifestyle?
So I have a goal weight that I'm trying to get to. I would like to lose another, what am I at right now? Another 60 pounds or so.
Okay.
So that's my goal. That would be my pre-pregnancy weight that I'd like to get back to. So trying to get to that, and then just working at my business daily, trying to make it the best that it can be, keep growing my relationships. And I've been doing that through offering different events, and I'll keep offering different events. Like we do, my version of Paint and Sip is Paint and Shake once a month. And then I started incorporating a kids one so the kids can come paint. And then we're doing Shakes with Santa next month, and another craft day. And it's just a lot of fun having people come in and seeing them have fun there.
Have you ever done like a kids fitness class?
I haven't. I want to, but
with your son, maybe when your son's a little bit older.
Maybe when he's older, when he can participate. Yeah. I would really like to do that, just for the whole community, adults and kids all together, because we have that wonderful park right down the road and all sorts of space there.
Well, I think introducing people to like fitness, because it's one that it's tough, because I think a lot of people. Do you play sports in school?
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
Nope.
So a lot of people like grow up and they play sports, and then you get out of sports and you just kind of like you lose. Typically, people worked out back in the day through sports because you had a goal. I wanted to play a sport. I wanted to, and then once you get out of competitive sports, and it's kind of like I'm missing, like I want to be healthy, but I just don't like working out to work out. Yep. So then you got to find a reason to work out or want to work out. And that just might be accountability with friends and someone to keep you going. Because like you said, one day you're sitting on the couch potato, another day you're looking in the mirror and you're just like, screw this. Like I'm just now going to like, flip the switch and be a better version of myself. And I think, for a lot of people, it's tough to do that. And then I think a lot of it is they just are scared and they need the nudge. And people, you're gonna be scared at any age. Like you're gonna have a 50-year-old that might come to you and be scared to death, and you're like, hey, like I was 27 when it happened to me, and you're 57, but hey, we're on the same journey. Let's do it, and let's be buddies, and let's make this thing happen. And I think, the strength in numbers, we talked about it earlier. It's like I think you need that. You need mentors. You need mentees. You need accountability partners. You need your family and friends. You need your outlets. And like, life's very complicated, and especially when you throw in a business, which is like a living, breathing organism, basically. I mean, it's crazy what it comes with, but that also makes you work harder and strive. And especially like you said, you add a child to the mix that adds a whole other layer of
completely changes things.
Do you find that when you had your son that something in your body just happened where it was like, okay, I'm a mom now? Or maybe when you got pregnant during the pregnancy, it's probably different for females because you carry the baby.
Pregnancy, it honestly didn't click until he was here.
You were holding him?
Yep. That's when it all just kind of like changed, and you're like different aspect on like view on life and all of that. And it's as soon as you see them, you're just like so full of love, and you want to nurture them and protect them, but see them succeed too. So.
Yeah, I remember holding. So my first kid was my son, so I remember holding him. And clear as day, it was like this, like it was almost like something. As soon as I like held my oldest and I like looked down at him, it was almost like something was just like clicked. It was almost like a gear was just turned internally, where it's like, oh, I'm a dad now. This is my child, my son, and now it's like you're whatever that. It was like something in myself that I didn't even know was in my body or in my being, and all of a sudden by having a kid, it just like unlocked this extra superpower that you had. And then you're like, all right, I'm a dad, and now I remember sitting there thinking like, I'm 100% responsible for this living organism, and at that point it was like, it like kind of hit you like, oh, and then it was at the same time, it's crazy to think that you can love something so much and you literally have just put it in your hands. Right. Like you love that thing as much as you love your parents, like, and or your spouse or whatever, and it's literally, you've had them in your hands for seconds. And it's you can't replicate it. I think parents you can. Parents like, yeah, I know what you mean. People that don't have kids like, yeah, kind of. I'm like, you don't know what you mean. You gotta actually have the kid. But it's it's pretty cool. So, Kelsey, anything else? I guess if you want to kind of let people know about where they can find you, kind of maybe upcoming events or. Yeah. So I'm at 69 Lake Street in Rouses Point. There's a big flag with my logo out front. You can't miss it, unless it's really windy, and then sometimes you can't see it very well. I have a vendor event coming up, so kind of like a
sip and shop. So you can come grab some drinks and check out all the different vendors. I think I have about 12 vendors signed up right now, from Tastefully Simple to lemongrass to Mary Kay, all kinds of different stuffs, homemade crafts. So it's just like a little shopping get together. The last Sunday of this month.
The Small Business Saturday?
I'm doing that too, but
Is that different?
it's a different day.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Sunday. So I think the 28th, it might be that day. From 12 to 4, we'll be set up, and you can just come and shop and check things out. And then we have Shakes with Santa coming up on December 5th, and that will be at 1. I'll have shake and tea samples out for people who have never tried them before. You can try them. Santa will be there for photo ops, and then I'll have some crafts set up for the kids as well to do.
And your best place to follow everything you do is on Facebook?
Yes, everything is on my business page on Facebook.
Which is called?
Under One Reif Nutrition, LLC.
And Reif, R-E-I-F.
Yes.
So, Kelsey, this was a lot of fun. I enjoyed picking your brain. I love people that start off stuff, but, like, again, I like asking, like, how did you start? Why did you start? What's your goals? Like, you know, what have you learned? And I think, you know, I get as much out of it, I think, as, you know, obviously a conversation, but I always like pulling stuff away because I always, I learn something from everybody. So like I said, even if someone's brand new, you still kind of brings back to the basics of like, yeah, that's right. And like things you can think about. So,
yep.
Well, Kelsey, I appreciate you coming on. I wish you, you know, all the good vibes in the world and success in the world. And I think, you know, like I said, I think you're proactive and you want to do it. And I think you're, you know, your action back up what you're saying, which is like I said, also very cool to see because a lot of people don't. I think words are easy, actions are hard, and I think you're the one that's backing it up with full action. So, but yeah, if you guys can reach out, Under One Reif on Facebook. Kelsey Reif, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that is episode 171 of the Galen Trombley Show. Thanks for listening to the Galen Trombley Show. If you want to reach me, you can go on Facebook at Galen Trombley, on Instagram at Galen Trombley, and on YouTube at Galen Trombley. The spelling, GaelanTrombley.